Hi, welcome to Coaching with Leticia. I'm your host, Leticia, and I'm so thrilled with you joining me today on this podcast. My motto is innovate your business, elevate your life. So, whenever you listen to my podcast, either one of those will be the focal point. So, today is about elevating your life, speaking specifically on the challenges of fatherhood and getting the rightful access to your child. Now, what makes my podcast really unique is I like to link relevant theories to the topic in question. So, today we're going to touch on attachment theory, the ecological system theory, and a few others. And I'll also be sharing links to further support dads that may have this particular challenge at this specific time. So before we delve into this topic, I want to say hello to my new listeners and those that are still current and still listening. Share, like, and subscribe to anybody you feel this would help and support. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest, Complex.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
Welcome to my show. So, just introduce yourself. Just say a little bit about you, background, etc. Because if
Okay.
anybody doesn't know
So everyone doesn't know, yeah?
about, go on, you
About
say it. Go.
Yeah, so hi people. My name's Complex. I've known Tisha for quite some time.
Mhm.
She was originally on one of my shows that I do, Tables Chronicles.
Tables or Chronicles.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really nice being here. And it's interesting as well, being sat here, being interviewed by someone, because ordinarily I'm the interviewer. So hopefully today I can give you some insight into what it's like trying to apply for access for a child, aspects from, a male fatherhood type of thing. So yeah, I'm ready to go.
Excellent. Welcome. So, what motivated you to try your best to get access to your child?
Well, basically, it came to a point in my life where I was continuously going around in circles with the mother,
Mhm.
and it will be like sometimes for a period I'd have access and I have no problems, but as soon as we had a disagreement between ourselves, then she'd use that as a weapon for me not to see him. So really, it was just her using that advantage of us not having anything on paper in place. So because she was, the main parent and he lives with her, if I wanted to see him and she was doing something, then no, I couldn't see him. When really I should have a set day and things like that. So we had our set days, but when we had a disagreement, then I wouldn't see him. And then it came to a point where I was like, well, this isn't like consistent. It's not good for him, number one, because then he doesn't consistently spend time with me. And then he sees me in bits. So it got to that point. It was a few years in where I thought, this has to change. So I spoke to my friend who was a social worker, and she said, "No, it doesn't work like that. You should apply for access." I was like, "But how?" Like, I didn't really know how to do it or how to go about it. So she explained there was a child access form that you can apply for. You just go to the court, you can pick it up and fill it in, and it's not that expensive either. Because I think a lot of the pretentiousness around it is that it's expensive to go to court. You have to get a solicitor and all these things. When really all you need to do is just pick up a form, fill it in, and then go for due process. Now, part of the process is that you need to do mediation first before the court even actually picks up your case. So that can be expensive, but also there's a legal loophole where only one person has to go for mediation. So say even if you invited the mother to come and she didn't turn up, it's as long as you've gone through the process, so as long as one of you go, then it's fine. And at the particular moment in time when I was applying, we wasn't on good terms, so I had no contact with her. So that was one of the reasons that motivated me as well, because I didn't see him for like a whole summer half term. So that was really painful going through that process where I spent quite a lot of time with him, then all of a sudden I didn't see him. So I was like, no, this has to change because this is monumental. Because there've been little times before where maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, but this was like a whole few months where
It's a
I
long
didn't see
time.
him. So yeah, it's a long time, and
Okay.
because he was quite young as well, for me it's important to be there for the child's growth and development as well. So I was like, no, this is way too long. I have to do something about it. So putting all of those things together, I found a family solicitor, and she was really good because she was offering to do the mediation on the deal. So it was less than £100 at the time. And she explained to me the process, how it works, that, to go to court to get the access, you have to go through mediation first, because sometimes it can be resolved without you going to court.
Okay.
And also it depends on everyone's circumstance as well as to how needed it is to go the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
And for me myself, because I've been struggling with this for quite some time, for a few years, and I knew the mother quite well, and I've tried mediation. Like I've been to a solicitor before this, like a few years prior, and he said, "Oh, like before we go through this process, have you tried other things? So have you tried to speak to the family? Have you tried friends, or have you tried someone that's close to her? Because usually it's best to do that first. So you try the intermediate steps first until you really have to go there. So over the years, I've been trying everything. So I
Right.
had a really good relationship with her mum. So when I had a problem, I'll go to her mum, speak to her mum, and then her mum speaks to her. But then her mum came to a point where it's like, I can't do this no more. This is like
Absolutely.
stressful. You guys need
Absolutely.
to like grow up and sort it out.
Can
And
I? Sorry, go on.
yeah, so it's challenging because when it's a problem with two people and you just don't see eye to eye, and from your side of things you want it to be cohesive, but then the other person wants it on their terms. So and you're like, that's not how these things work. As adults, you need to see things from the other person's perspective, and then
Absolutely.
kind of meet in the middle ground. So even if you don't agree, you agree to disagree, and then just move on. But it was just so challenging that I just had enough, and I said, like, this is like the last result. I have to kind of do something about it, or it's going to be like this forever,
Right.
and that can't run.
So again, if I ask you a question, if you're like, I'm not comfortable answering it, that's also okay. Okay. So I want to ask you something in terms of, you said you didn't have access to your child. Does that also include digital platforms, i.e. WhatsApp, i.e. phone
Yeah,
calls?
at that time, he was too young to.
But she can call you and then you could, what's this, FaceTime, whatever it's called?
Yeah, that's yeah. There was none at that point in time. There was none of that. It was just phone calls. But prior to that, we've been through a whole lot of animosity over the phone. So we get to points where you just don't want to speak to the person,
Yeah.
where it's hard. So what I learned is they have things in place for that as well. So you can go to a access center where they would leave the child there. The parent would leave the child there. Then the other parent comes. So you don't have to actually
I
speak or
see.
communicate with each other. But that's further down the line. But just to kind of give you some insight, there is ways around that particular point. But that's where we were at, where sometimes it was difficult to even engage with each other because there was so much conflict going on.
Right. Okay. So I want to just paint a picture. So let's just say you said that you didn't have access to your child frequently. Did your child treat you differently when you didn't see them for long periods of time? So, sometimes a child is like stranger danger. It's like, who
Like,
are
oh,
you
are
kind of
you?
thing. What was that like? And did that happen for you?
No, not really. There was one time when he was young and he didn't want to come, but then he came like he was a bit hesitant. But I don't think it was around that. There's also other aspects as well. So parenting, um, parenting ways. So parenting styles. So
Mm-hmm.
good parent, bad parent.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
can have this. No, you can't have that. So I
Absolutely.
feel like our parenting styles were different as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was a challenge for him adjusting to our parent styles. So she's a completely different character to myself. So her way is like she's very uh playful and things like that. Where I'm quite stern on certain things. So I'll be like, no, this is how you have to do it, like this and like that. So I think it was an adjustment for him, for my child, on from that aspect.
Okay.
And I noticed sometimes if I told him to stop doing something, he'll take it personal, start crying. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you off for saying you're
Right,
bad,
right,
because he's
right,
not used.
right.
I can see he's not been told no before. Do you know what I mean?
I see.
So things like that. I noticed there was a big difference from that
Mm.
aspect, and over time, like having that consistency helped him learn me as well how I parent. So
Mm.
now he knows like it's just the way that is. This is the way it works. Like it don't go like
Yeah.
that. And there's been periods of time where I have to tell him, no, like you're with daddy now. Like this is how things work when you're with
Okay.
me. Like these are the rules. This is how it
Mm.
happens. And I tell him, yeah, like you're not with mommy no more. You're with me.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
don't go on like
That
that.
must be so like revealing for a child's perspective. It's like, okay, now they have to emotionally adjust to one parent and
Mm.
then move to emotionally adjust to another
Yeah,
parent. That
hundred
must be
percent.
quite a lot for a child to take on. This is why this is such a real topic, because obviously, my situation with my kids and their dads. It's like I feel the difference when they are with their dad compared to when they're with me. Just what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So give me an example, if you don't mind, when you say, if you tell him no, not to do something. So I don't know, what is it that you tell him no that you probably think that he's been told yes before?
Probably sweets and things like that. Because before there was that gap, he never really used to eat sweets that much. And when I got him again, he's asking for certain things. I'm like, what? Like, where's this coming from? Since when are you allowed to have this? Even things like fizzy drinks. He never drank fizzy. He was always like apple juice and things like that. Then he's asking for Tango. I'm like, what?
What? Okay, you know names of fizzy.
How do you ask? Like, where's this coming from? Like, no, like it's bad for you.
Okay, that's interesting, because you're even speaking about dietary requirements now. So you're thinking about, you know, his health and his nutrition. So you've seen that difference as well?
Yeah, 100%. And this is one thing I learned with co-parenting. There's a lot that comes into it. There's a lot of detail that comes into it that you don't, when you're just struggling just to see your child, you don't really think about these things until now you have your child.
Absolutely.
And then now you have to communicate with the other parent to make sure these things are happening. So making sure they're eating right, making sure they're going to school on time, making sure they got the right clothes and things, because he's a boy and she's a female. And she doesn't have any other children, just the one. So there's things as a guy, you know, you're supposed to wear a certain way or a certain sizes and things like that. So these types of little things is what then comes next as a result from that. And even though, say, you're not on good terms with the parent, you still have to make sure these things are happening. Don't get me wrong. Some people don't have these issues and some people may have. In my circumstance, I had to pay attention to these things and ask these types of questions. And it's what parenting's about, you know, like, you know, you monitor these things like normal, like standardly, but obviously there's a barrier with these simple things when you're not getting along with the person and you don't really want to speak to them, but you have to for the child's sake. So then it's about learning, okay, how do I communicate these things and how do I monitor these things successfully without it becoming an issue? Because even normally, a thing that you might see as important, the other person might not see as important. So again, going back to parenting styles and even more values, you can put those things on the list as well. There's all these things that you have to take into consideration when you're now a co-parent and you're looking at, okay, how we're going to parent. These are the things that I like my child to do, or I like my child to have, or this is the way I want him parenting, but then that might clash with the other. And you've already got clashes on top of that. You've already got your personal issues. So there's a lot that comes into it that when you're just struggling just to gain constant, like, you know, consistent access with the child that you don't think about until it now comes into play, because now you've got access. Now these are the next steps. So how do we do this without clashing?
It's so funny because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, you know, like about my situation, like with my eldest daughter, who's 15. It's like I'm the no parent. She'll ask me, Jordan, no. Chicken chips, no. Just I say, and she's like, Mommy, you always say no. I say yes because it's not good for you. No. And the thing is, it's like with the other parent, they're the yes parent.
Yeah.
So do you feel sometimes, I'm not saying your situation, that the yes parent sometimes does it to overcompensate because of their lack of interaction with their child, perhaps?
I think there's different reasons. It can get psychological because, you know, as a child, if you know you was told no and you want the best for your child, you're going to go, have it.
Yeah.
It depends, you know. And for me, growing up, I was told no a lot. I was like, because of this, because of that. So for me, I'm quite practical where I will say, it's like my son should have fun and he should experience good things in his childhood. But then he should also know the difference in indulging too much.
Absolutely.
So everything in rations.
Absolutely. Balance is everything.
Yeah.
Balance is everything, because I have to remind her, and I'm sure you probably remind, you know, your child as well, that there are some things you do say yes to. You don't say no to everything.
Yeah.
Just what I'm saying. There are some things you'll be like, okay, cool. On this occasion, you can have a tango. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like once a year. Like, oh, it's that. So I totally get it. I totally get it. There's a model called the Involved Father module. I'm just going to read my notes. And it speaks about fathers' involvement and children's socio-emotional behavior and the social learning theory. And it suggests that increases interaction with fathers and provides children with an additional opportunity to learn social skills. Okay, as well as an additional source of emotional and instrumental support. So this is a study by Leedy, Schofield, and Park, and a psychologist, Lev Vygotsky, believed that parents, caregivers, peers, and the culture at large are responsible for developing the brain's higher order functions, according to Vygotsky. So human development relies on social interaction and therefore can differ among cultures. So you having access to your child as a parent not only is your right, but it's also part of his developmental stage. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's so important that it happens on both sides, you know, and that, okay, cool, you're not romantically involved with the parent or with the mother in your situation, but you still have to give the child that, you know, that freedom to develop that relationship, to develop social skills. Like you said, both of you are two different parents in your parenting style, but that will give him a better way of communicating, because, you know, like you said, because you two are different, he's able to say, oh, okay, well, not everyone does it this way, and when he goes into different environments, he's able to adapt.
Both
Just what I'm saying, because he's got that balance, you know,
both sides,
rather than just one-sided way of looking at things um as a young man. Because I know I've got a son, and I know there's things I can't teach him, there's things I'm learning myself, even things like haircuts, trims, the texture of my son's hair.
yeah, it's a big deal.
It's like, what do I do? They just assume all black people can do all hair types, but it's a case of, I called a barber and I'm like, okay, so when do I bring him in? Do I give him food? What do I, because you just don't know as a mother. I've never taken a boy or my son to get his hair trimmed. What age do I do it? So I'm doing my own personal research to learn about his anatomy, how he's developing, how he's evolving. Just what I'm saying, I think it's so important. So in terms of support, how has your friends and family supported you during your process?
They've been really good, especially my family. They've been behind me all the way, and that's one thing that pushed me
Right.
to do the whole legal route, because I saw it wasn't not only not fair on my child and myself, but also my family. Is that if I don't see him, then they don't see him.
Absolutely.
It affects them as well, and that's what I saw, like the inconsistency and like how disappointed they get if he won't come. They're like, is he here? Is he here? And then like my heart sank, like seeing their faces when he's not coming this week, and yeah, it's emotional. So I thought I have to fight for him, for my family as well, not just myself. And that's one of the things that really pushed me to go the whole process. And even to this day, I give advice to my other friends going through the same thing.
Wow.
And as soon as, because it happened to a friend recently, soon as he had, I said, child access.
Well done.
This is how it's go here, do this, fill this form, go see. Like I gave him the whole process. So I think it's a process that should be made aware to everyone, because prior to that, I didn't know anything about it, and I only knew the perception of it and why a lot of people don't do it, because they feel like, oh, it's expensive, it's time consuming, it's more stressful. But in actuality, it was more stressful trying to manage the behavior and the inconsistency than it was going through that process once. I'll be real about it. And yeah, and the interesting thing was the behavior it fixed up, like patterned up straight away. As soon as that letter dropped through that door, she knew I'm playing games.
That's so
But
good.
it's bad and it's good. It's bad because it takes that for an individual to realize, like, this is a serious situation. It's not all about me. Okay, I might not like this person at this particular point in time, but it's affecting my child. The person should be able to realize that without being pushed that far. But on the other side of things, now his mum has grown a lot. I've seen a lot of self-development now that she's been pushed through that process, and she's changed for the better, which is amazing. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to see, is this the same? But what's the catch? It's something gonna happen soon. Like, why is it all working so smoothly? Because now, yeah, it works. It's just been ever since that part happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's been smooth, like
Mm-hmm.
sailing from there on. So it took that. If I didn't go through that, we could still be, going backwards instead of forwards. But now everything's going forwards, which is really good.
So just give a word of advice to people listening. Two things. It's a two-part question. My first one is, how do you stay motivated? How did you stay motivated? And the next thing is it only for dads, this access point?
No, it would work for both, but
Okay.
it just depends on the circumstance.
Okay.
I have to highlight another important thing is the birth certificate, because that's sped up a lot of things. If you're on the birth certificate, then it's the legal requirement for you to have access already, because it's illegal for the person not to let you see the child, because you're legally that parental guardian already if you're on the birth certificate. So that's important, because that's the first thing they look at when you apply for access and you fill out the details: name, age, date of birth for child, and whatnot. And then they will check that with the birth certificate to see who's on it, because then otherwise you're now applying for something else. You're now applying for legal guardianship of the child. But if you're on the birth certificate, you already have that legal right. So by the person not letting you have access to the child and you're on the birth certificate, they're actually kind of breaking the law at that point. But the law also has to check that the reason behind it first, because it could be a safeguarding issue. Because there are some people in certain circumstances where the mum can't have interactions with the father because he is violent or he's aggressive or this, that, and the other. So there are genuine situations where the mum should be not letting the father see the child because of those reasons, because it's a risk. So the courts and the legal system have to do due diligence and check those things first. But obviously, if you're just legitimately trying to be a father and trying to do the best, then you've got nothing to worry about in that sense. So you will go through that process as well. There's a part where safeguarding team will call and they will check on both sides to make sure that the child is not at risk from being with said parent, which is normal. Cause I've worked for governmental services, so I kind of understand the whole safeguarding process. But that's important as well to highlight, because I've met females who've said like they've had to be moved out of London and moved to far places because of the risk of the father and things like that. So it's circumstantial as well, but generally speaking, as long as you're generally just trying to be a good father, then yeah. And likewise, if you're a mum trying to get access and you're legitimately not at risk and you're just trying to be a parent, then yeah, it's open to both.
Did you sorry, you didn't say about what you did to overcome sometimes your low moments.
Low moments. I think it's just keeping hope alive, isn't it? And family, like supporting you, saying like, don't worry, like you'll get through it. Having that support mechanism around you. Because yeah, I feel it for anyone that had to go through that and not have that. I don't know how they cope. They do say that male suicide rate is very high, mental health issues is very high because of the way society treats the male in general. There's less of a support mechanism for them, and there's stereotypes on top of that of what a strong man's meant to be. So taking that on board, it can be very difficult if you're trying to do it alone. So I'd say if you are in that situation where you do like speak to your friends around you for support. Don't be scared. Like it's a vulnerable situation, but you can't be scared to be vulnerable.
Okay. Did you have any people stereotype you during your process? It's like, oh, what? I'm not going to paraphrase. I want you to tell me your story. So, did you have anybody stereotype you, or did you have any biases as a father trying to get rights to access to his child?
Two things. One thing in the beginning, when I first became a father, I was worried about that, the stigma that comes with it, especially in our community, being a black person, black male. Obviously, especially being the Caribbean descent, they say like we spread the seed and all of that. So I was worried about that in the beginning, but then after like you talk to a lot of people, there's some guys out there with seven youths, six different baby mothers, and all of that. There's a lot of different people out there, and especially meeting females. Females have also met men like that, and I feel like people can tell the difference when they speak to you in the type of person that you are. So that became less as of a worry the more I experienced it and got out there and spoke to people, spoke to different people. I was worried in the beginning about the stereotype, but then as you know, life moves on, and like you say, you meet and you experience different people from different walks of life. That helped me overcome it as well. Because I was quite low in the beginning, thinking, "Oh man, like I'm in a situation, I'm single father or whatnot, or I know I'm not with the mother of my child," and it was daunting in the beginning, but after a while, like it's been happening way before me. It's been
It's
happening
true.
for years. Not saying
It's
it's
true.
good, but
Yeah.
I'm not the only person. There's millions of people, and not just in our culture. It happens in other cultures as well. I think it is bad that our culture is highlighted quite a lot when I've seen and met other people from different cultures that are maybe in worse situations than me. My situation is actually quite light
Yeah.
in comparison
Yeah.
to, like I was saying, there's people out there with lots of different children. Some of them don't really respond either. But then on the other side, because I had a few hearings, and one of the judges, I think it was the final one, it was the way I came into the meeting because we did it on Teams, and basically I was at work at the time, and I logged on and I was in work mode. I'm like, oh hi, because this is a Teams meeting to me. I'm like, oh hi guys, da, da, da. And he's like, guys, we are not going. Da, 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 da. I was like, right. So I've already
Yeah,
given him a
yeah,
bad
yeah, yeah, yeah,
impression.
yeah.
So he's automatically going to lean towards whatever the mother says
Absolutely.
already. But one thing by that point, because I've been through two meetings already, I was fearless in that position because I know I have rights. And this is important, know your rights. Because then you know what legs you have to stand on. And I knew no matter what he said to me, they had no right for me not to see my son. So I didn't respond. I just talked to him the same way he was speaking to me. Whereas I know a lot of people that don't have that understanding or knowledge or have that bravery might not want to respond. They might just shrivel back into the chair. But I told him, like, why are we here? Like, I've already been through two meetings prior. It was only because we had some slight disagreement about a pickup time. The other judge said, "Oh no, I think we better have another one," because they were running out of time on the last one. But
Okay.
then the issue is you get a different judge who's not then built up the understanding of
Oh
your
no.
case, and you don't know how much time they spent on reviewing your case as well, because there was a lot of context that I put when I applied. So you have to give, like, obviously your reason, your story, and mine was I had a whole log of things that had occurred. So yeah, at that point I was like, you know what? Like, these people were just like me and you. They're just human beings. Like, they go to work. They might have even had the late night before. They might
Yeah,
have just
yeah,
looked through
yeah.
your case like within like one
Casually.
minute before, because they do this day in day out. So you're just another face to them. So yeah, I just spoke to them, the way they spoke to me. It wasn't rude or anything, but I'm just letting you know that I know my rights. Like, at the
Yes.
end of the day, you're here to review my case and grant me access, yes or no. Like, there's no need to do any other types of back and forth or anything like
Yeah,
that. Like, just get to it.
yeah, yeah.
Like, time is away. I'm sure you got things to do. I've got things to do too. So that was interesting seeing that, and then um, seeing the behavior in the courtroom. So just try and portray to be the victim and all of these things, and as you do in court.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's one of the things when you go to court is you got to know how it works, how to maneuver in the courtroom, as they say, because one person's gonna be painted to be doing everything correct, the other person's gonna be painted, so everyone's gonna be pretending to
A
be
hero
perfect
and a
at.
villain, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And the judge is there trying to figure out which is which,
Right,
what
okay.
is what. So that was interesting. So
So tell me, because I think that we're so Americanized, okay? You just said you had a meeting on Teams with a judge. What I'm trying to visualize is it the same as like the American shows, or
yeah, it's like a
you
Judge
watch
Judy.
like really Judge Judy,
So
but online?
yeah, but online they
That's
pop up in the
crazy.
screen, and they all have someone taking the notes.
Okay.
They have the judge, someone from the safeguarding team, I think, and one other person. But yeah, the main gist of it is obviously they just want to understand why have you been denied access. What do you want? Basically,
Right.
you tell
Okay.
them I want to see him. I don't know, 2 days of the week, or
Mhm.
and then they go to the mum. Is that okay? So they're like the middle person
Okay.
saying, is it okay for this, that, and the other? Like once you've got past that whole safeguarding thing, and then they ask, okay, why? If she says no, why? What's the problem?
Right.
Because
Okay.
at this point you're supposed to have gone through mediation already and sorted out all of these things.
Right.
So with my mediation thing, like she didn't come because um basically I'd already mediated with her like for years, and I said, nah, it's serious times now. I'm going
Yeah.
straight to the judge and
Yeah.
straight to my agreement, because I've tried to sort out all of the small issues that you have. If you can't do that, then just go to the judge, because you're actually breaking the law at this point.
Mm.
So when by the time you get to the judge, in his mind, you've already gone through all the small stuff. It just comes down to, okay, what days do you want to see him? What time's okay for him to be where? And then he just goes between both of the parents asking the questions.
Okay.
And yeah, he did ask her one small thing, like about one of the issues she had, and this is where it was interesting. The last judge, because he was a bit not on my side because of how I approached him
Yeah.
earlier.
You're like, hi guys.
Oh my god, yeah, he's from them. But also, like I said, it's just me. I don't like to show people like in that situation they can intimidate me, because they can't. So if he doesn't like it, then he doesn't like it. But at the end of the day, like law is the law. Like grant me access and be on the way. So yeah, there was that aspect of it. And then he said to me, "Oh, do you understand why?" Da, 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 da. I was like, seriously, this is what we're gonna do now.
Yeah.
But yeah. Apart from that, it was like we went physically. The first time we went physically to family court, and even they were a bit confused, because at the end of the day, what they said is both of us want the best things for the child, but the things we argue about are minuscule.
Right.
And this is what relates back to my first point. There are people in situations where it is really bad, where it's a risk for, it's a genuine risk for the child to see the dad, where he's abusive, he's hitting people and things like that, and the police have to move the person. We're not in that situation. You're arguing with me about paying for a school trip. Like that's that, like
Yeah,
the bottom
yeah.
of priorities. Like
Absolutely.
access is the foremost thing. Consistently let the other parent have access. So they said that. They said, because when she started making these demands and stuff, like over these small things to try and include them, they're like, "What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's the main thing is that does he give you money? Yes, tick.
Yeah.
So there's your money. Like, do whatever you want with that. Like,
Okay.
ration it. Does he see the child routinely? No, because you've not allowed him to. So sort it out. Like, do you know what I mean? There's priorities in that situation.
Right.
So that was interesting, seeing the reaction from the judges in the first case, where they were like, "What's the issue?" And then all the issues that we had were on the grand scheme of things, not as important as the holistic thing of having access.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was interesting and insightful. Just seeing someone from the outside saying those things are not as important as, like you're saying, the development of the child, seeing the other parent, to take it back to the fundamentals and the basics. All the other stuff, it's like, as long as he's there for the child and you're getting the main things that you need, what's the problem? So then the problem is not the problem that you're saying, it's something else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was interesting, seeing the reaction from the first team of judges to the last one.
Right.
But at the end of it, because I was going back and forth with him, he was like, "Oh, you know what? Don't worry about it." He's like, by the end of it, he's like, "Cool."
You don't know complex.
Yeah,
He's got
like,
a bean as run it.
Yeah, I'm like, what? This is what we're doing. Because yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
was
can I just
interesting.
ask you, okay, just to make it very clear, when you was requiring access, because you mentioned finances, so she was happy with the finances being covered, even though you didn't have access?
Yes.
Aha.
All this time she's taking my money.
That's what I'm trying to, hold on a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
So did
Money was
they
going.
alter it? So did they say you're giving, did they change?
But the thing is, yeah,
Go
the
on.
two things are different. This is what I learned as well along the way.
Right.
Financial things, the financial arrangement is separate from access arrangements,
Yes.
which I think should be changed. Because funny enough, I was watching an interview with Dr. Umar, and he's had some very good ideas. So what he was saying was there should be an online app where if it's like that, the father paying the money can see what the money's been spent on. So like when she buys something, she can upload the receipt and you say, cool, you bought, I don't know, school clothes. Fine.
Yeah.
You bought this, that, and the other. Because in these circumstances, as a father, you're given the money, but you don't know where that money's going. And there are circumstances where fathers are paying money, but then when they get the child, they're still paying money again for clothes and food and things that the mother's already meant to be paying. So like if you're paying for it, where is where is it? Where is it
Let
going?
me ask a question now, because I saw this. Someone mentioned this. I can't remember the gentleman's. He's got a
And
podcast. Go on.
if you're not giving me access, don't take my money.
Then okay. So my question to you is this. So you're saying that, you know, the app would be a really good idea, whatever the mother spends the money on, that you should kind of have an idea of what the money's spent on. So for example, let's just say, does that also include utility bills? Because my daughter is a gamer. That thing's running all day. So do I need to increase
That's what I was saying.
the price to the dad, or what?
Include it. No, it's fair. Fair is fair. Include it, and then at least you have the discussion. So that way, it's on the table to be talked about.
Right,
Do you know what I mean?
right.
Rather than you're doing it, but that doesn't know.
Yeah.
So then that can create animosity, and that can create another conflict because, again, communication. Because you're not talking about it, it's not out in the open. Then he's just gonna jump to conclusions. Oh, I gave her X amount, but I don't see X amount. But then he don't know that it's gone to the electric. So
Absolutely.
if you put on there electric, gaming, 2 hours, whatever it is, cool.
Yeah.
Then it's down to him to say, okay, maybe you need this, that, and the other. But at least you've had that conversation. And communication is the key. Because without that communication and the understanding, then it breaks down.
It's difficult because sometimes I feel that even if you're trying to communicate as a parent, sometimes they're emotionally still attached to you. So even if you're trying to communicate sense, they're just emotional, and they could be like, oh yeah, but I see you got your nails done. Do you know what I mean? Or just, you know what I mean? Or, oh no, I can't take him or her because, you know, you've been going out. Do you see what I'm saying? So sometimes the communication can be difficult.
But this is why you have a solid agreement, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what so and so was doing last night. That's the agreement.
It's true.
It's true. Agreement. These are your days. These are the times. Whatever you do, you arrange it around that, and that's the priority, and that's it. So when it comes to that, it doesn't matter what you think.
Yeah.
That's the agreement. That's what we've got in place.
Yeah. And may I ask, does this agreement stop when your child is 18?
I think so. They didn't go that far.
Okay.
But yeah, it's until he's not a child, because it's a child arrangement.
That's what
order,
I'm saying.
so
Is that 16 or 18?
So when he stops becoming a child, I'm not too sure in the UK what that is, if it's 16 or 18. But I would imagine.
Have you thought about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So does the payment stop as well?
It stops when they're 18.
Is it? Right, I've budgeted the payments. I've
budgeted for the next 9 to 10 years.
Yeah, I could tell. So just touching on another theory. So we have the Ecological Systems Theory, and it's proposed by Yuri Brenner. And this theory examines the multiple environments that influence a child's development, including family, community, and social factors. So now your child has access to not only the mum's family, but also the dad's. And as you said, it's nice because whether it would be Christmas or birthdays, you want to celebrate. You know, your family wants to celebrate with their, you know, with their child.
That came into it as well, because that's one thing they help you sort out as well.
Yeah.
Key things, occasions, birthdays and Christmas, they ask you, how do you want to do it?
Okay.
And that goes on the agreement as well, because those are key things.
Yeah.
That will cause conflicts. So we already had an agreement to alternate the birthdays, and we both attend, because I know some people do separate ones, so each parent would do their own separate birthday. But I think that's a bit
Yeah, yeah,
disruptive
yeah.
for us in our situation.
Mm.
It's more cohesive for, especially it's good for the child to see both of his parents
Mhm.
celebrating his life together, I think.
Mm.
So even if we had this or that with each other, we'd always still alternate his birthdays, and we'd all be there. His side of his side, her side of the family there, my side of the family there.
Okay.
So yeah, we alternate birthdays, and Christmases we used to alternate, but we're quite open because we both have
Quite
the same
flexible.
beliefs in that sense on in those types of things. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not like that for everyone. But in
Yeah.
our circumstances, okay.
Okay. Okay. So, on a positive note, what is your favorite thing about being a dad?
I think just getting to see him grow and develop and become a person.
Mm.
Because when I look at how he was when he was born and how he is now, like it teaches you things about life, like
Mm.
life cycle, and that's what really hit me. Like when I had my own child, of how much cycle life is, and that type of knowledge and understanding is priceless. Like no other experience has shown me that in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing I'm grateful for. So he's blessed me, and so that's one of the most important things that I'm grateful for.
Mm.
When it
What
comes
was it like holding your child for the first time? Like, people speak about this unconditional love that just overwhelms you. Like,
yeah, there's something about the innocence of a child,
mm.
and also to add to that, I've seen the effect of a child on the family. Like families that weren't talking are now talking because
Yeah,
the child, everyone's here
yeah.
because of the child, and the child just brings everyone together. I've seen that
Absolutely.
happen with my own eyes. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is an effect of a child. It's
Mm.
monumental on the family. Like
Mm.
people that don't really business for people are just there in the same room, like talking and corresponding, because it happened in my family. Like
Yeah.
so and so weren't talking to so and so, now
There
so
was-
and so what's happening, and they're like, what's happening me, like, we're not best friends, we're not friends. But yeah, that's the effect of a child, man. It
Mm.
is monumental.
Sometimes it forces you to be an adult.
It does.
Do you know what I
You
mean?
mature,
Just be an adult.
and starts you on that thought process of thinking about the future and
Mm.
organizing yourself appropriately, because when that child gets to a certain age, they're going to rely on you for certain things, and
Mm.
it's better that you're in a position to help. Because don't get me wrong, there are some parents where it's not like that, and I've
Mm.
seen that as well, where the kids are parenting the adults.
Absolutely.
And don't get me wrong, there's a point where children are meant to look after their parents, but obviously you don't want that to be premature.
Mm.
So I've seen that happen as well. And you can only do your best in life. Like some people are fortunate enough to put themselves in positions where they can do the best for their child. Some
Mm-hmm.
people might want to do the best for the child, but
Yeah.
life has just not afforded them to be in that position.
Mm.
So yeah, I've seen that as well.
Okay. So, how do you balance work, your personal life, and your parenting responsibilities? Are you still able to do your hobbies and interests? And if you want to share what your hobbies and interests are, that's also okay.
Okay, yeah, I am. It's not easy. It's hard, and I've also learned there's different types of tiredness as well.
The levels of
The levels of
tiredness.
tiredness,
Yeah.
like you start analyzing those as well. You go, okay, how tired am I?
Naps. I'm all about naps.
Can I squeeze this in? Can I squeeze that in? What can I get away with? Can I stay up this late or that
Yeah,
late? Or is
it's
that
true.
going to affect this the next day? Like your whole
It's
schedule
true.
is wild.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it has affected my scheduling a lot, and I always have to think about timing and things like that, especially with a child, because children can be unpredictable at a young age as well.
Yeah.
So what you think might take 2 hours might end up taking 4 hours because they're hungry,
Absolutely.
or they're tired, and
Mm.
they don't want to go there, but you spent 2 hours driving there, then I don't want to do it. And then you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
it's deep.
what are we gonna do? And then you're driving all the way back, and then
Mm.
arrangements. So like, so and so's gone here, but you told them to be there, and child wants to be here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, scheduling is wild.
So, do you get to have a personal life?
I do, but uh, it depends what it is, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about priorities and what you want for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, everything in moderation or priority.
Okay. So, what values or lessons are you most focused on when teaching your child?
Um, oh, that's a good one. Values. So honesty, integrity, um, understanding, thoughtfulness,
Mm-hmm.
kindness, discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, discipline's a key one. Self-discipline as much as the other way around. Um, uh, yeah, I think those are my key ones.
Okay. Um, there's just another quick theory I just want to touch on is called parental alienation theory, and it basically examines cases where one parent attempts to alienate the child from the other parent, causing emotional harm. So when I asked you the question about when you didn't see your child for a period of time, whether they treated you differently
Mm.
or they just was a little bit reserved because they were unsure who you are. So
Mm.
if dad faces challenges like alienation attempts from the other parent, this theory that you can actually use can be argued that maintaining rights to see your child is crucial for their emotional health and development. So what I want to ask you is, how did you prepare yourself legally? So you said you spoke to a social worker
Yeah, so I spoke because the
or social
interesting,
service, someone, yeah.
yeah, I had a friend that was a social worker,
Mm.
and then I told her what was happening, and
Mm.
straight away she's like, no, 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 no. And she's a female as
Fantastic.
well. She's
Yeah.
just like, no, no, no. And for me, it was a blessing having advice from a female because then
Mm.
sometimes as a guy, you don't know if you're doing wrong because it's a female. Do you know what I mean? You feel like you might, am I being like unemotional intelligent? Like, am I being
Mm.
like emotionally unintelligent basically
Mm.
because you're thinking, okay, the female's upset with me. Like,
Mm.
have I generally done something wrong, or is she wrong? Sometimes as a guy, you
Mm.
can get those lines blurred because you don't know if you're just kind of overstepping or if you're generally you should be upset with the person.
Mm.
But so having that guidance from a female who actually knew, policies and legislations and things like that and processes, that was helpful.
Mm.
So yeah, I spoke to her as a kind of advisory step.
Mm.
Before that, I had looked at legal advice a few years prior to that. And then that's when the guy said to me, "Oh, have you tried family members? Have you tried this?" But then she corrected herself, and that was the problem. Like she'd do it, like
Mm.
not grant me access for a little bit, but then she would after a while. So then I didn't really need
Mm.
to take the whole step. But then a few years later,
Mhm.
like I said, that long period, it was summertime. It was coming up to the 6 weeks holiday, and then I didn't see him until like after, like in autumn, because his birthday's in winter.
Mhm.
So I was like, whoa, so she pops up when it's time for birthday, yeah? And I'm like,
Wow.
nah, nah,
And
nah.
you're still making your financial deposits.
Yeah, yeah, the whole
Wow.
time.
Mm.
But is that it was in that period of time I was like, nah, this ain't on. Like, nah,
Mm.
she's like taking a mic. Like, this is it's gone too far because like saying
Mm.
that's such a big gap.
Mm.
Um, but I feel like because I had been consistent before, it wasn't that hard for him to adjust to me afterwards.
Right.
It was just
Okay.
that I'd missed whatever he'd been doing in that period of time. So it was more me catching up to him
Okay.
rather than the other way around.
Just one thing I wanted to touch on is in terms of your financial commitment, let's just say you get a promotion at work, you're earning six figures.
Mm.
Does that change automatically to
Yeah,
support your child? It does.
yeah.
Or the system's got
Yeah.
it that okay. Okay. I wasn't too sure because I know that there's ways that fathers can avoid that by
Mm.
saying that they're not earning anything, or
Mm.
they try to say, oh, I only get cash in hand to avoid making those payments. So
Oh, they'll
it's
fund
good
you.
that but
But it depends. It
I've
does
heard,
depend on how
yeah,
how how the person, said person, is working.
yeah,
It just depends on
because they
the
could be
route
on
that they go.
benefits, but they
Yeah,
still have
exactly.
to,
Yeah,
okay,
they would. Even they'll take out your benefits.
yeah,
Yeah, they'll
you
take
just
that.
make a phone call. Joking. Joking.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But I feel like generally speaking, like a father should want to contribute to,
yeah,
even though I'm talking about finances the way I'm talking about
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
But don't get it twisted. I do feel like it's a responsibility, whether it's your child or not, to make payment towards
Yeah.
their child. But also, I think that it should be a livable situation,
Mm.
and it should be reasonable as well.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is where it gets tricky because of that emotional conflict between the two. Sometimes logic and stuff goes out of people's heads when they're mad. So again, like what the father can give and what the mother wants are sometimes two different things.
Absolutely.
And it's like you say, people start judging, like look at the other person. Oh, they got some new stuff. Like, oh, so they can't pay him this, but they got time to buy that. Like,
Absolutely.
do you know what I mean? Eyes are watching. So yeah, it's a lot to do with being reasonable and understanding, but that can be very difficult if you have conflict. And
Absolutely.
the key thing is to try and get around that conflict, like put the conflict aside and just look at what's best for the child, and then let that guide you.
Can I ask, and again, like I said, you don't have to answer if you're not comfortable with, but I just want to gauge age brackets. So what age was your child that you was able to be granted that regular access, and how long did it take you? Was this process?
Process did take quite long. I went for a whole thing with that as well, because we had a meeting and then the administrations messed something up. So I had to fight with them a bit over the admin side.
Okay.
But the whole process, I think it took maybe just under a year, because I started it in that summertime, and then just a bit after that, and then so roughly, about that, just under a year roughly it took. But the good thing is, when I started it, she started to give me access before we went to court anyway,
Right.
so that helped. So in my circumstance, it was more of the action that I took that allowed me. Like when she saw what I was on, she was like, "Okay,
Love it.
this is
Love it.
this is where we are.
Yeah.
Let's better pattern up."
Because you should be held accountable.
Yeah,
I think that's really important. And the reason why I ask is because my next theory is the attachment theory, which I'm sure people have heard this term. So I'm just wondering, what age was your son now able to see you consistently? At what age, or you don't want to disclose? Was he under? You don't have to disclose that.
I genuinely can't remember.
Okay. Cool. So with attachment theory, it's developed by John Bowlby, and it emphasizes the importance of a secure emotional bond between a child and their caregivers for healthy development. So if a dad can show that he has formed a strong attachment with his child and that separating them would harm the child emotionally, this theory reinforces the value of his involvement. So, how do you ensure that your child feels loved and supported through this whole process? Because it must have been quite weighing for your child as much as it was for the parents.
Yeah, I mean, even now, I just tell him I love him, man. Like, that's the best way. Like, is to tell him, or tell the child, and do things for them.
Yeah,
and just reinforce it. And even like, say when I'm disciplining him, I will discipline, but I'll tell him why, and I'll tell him, I love you, but you gotta do these things. Do you understand? I'm not being mean, but I want the best for you in life, and I want you to be able to be the best person you can be. So I think it's important to use those types of techniques of reasoning with your own child and letting them understand the importance of what you're trying to show them, and speaking to them face to face as well as showing them, speaking and showing.
So what about things like affection? Because you say you love him. I think I said you something about Will Smith and his son.
Yeah.
So
there's lines. There's lines you don't cross.
There's
especially
affection.
At big ages.
Yeah. There's affection.
Anyway.
Yeah, because as a baby, you're gonna kiss, cuddle, moo, all that gorgeous stuff. But then as the child gets older, I think there should be some level of boundaries, in my opinion. Because I tell my kids that I love them.
Appropriate at ages, isn't it? So, and plus you know your child as well, because some children generally aren't as affectionate as others.
Yes.
Like every child is different. So I guess it's about gauging and knowing, understanding your own child
Yes.
to what they accept, you know. Because even I think about it, like one time my mum tried to kiss me, I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, whoa. Easy.
Yeah.
It's like, nah. But then my brother is like,
Yeah, he's just
so it depends on the child.
relationship as
Yeah, the
well.
relationship.
Yeah. And the child's love language as well.
Yeah.
Because my son's love language, even though he's only 2, is words of affirmation. What you say, good boy. His chest is like, yeah, I'm a good. He literally walks like I'm a good boy. Whereas my daughter, she's very much about quality time. She wants her time. Sometimes it's draining, but she wants her time. I have to give her time. So, what is your son's love language, or do you not know it yet?
I think it is spending time.
Yeah,
because he likes to go and do stuff.
yeah.
With me, he's like, see you next week.
Oh, I love that.
See you next week. That's his like favorite saying, like nowadays at this age, because he likes to go and do. He likes it when I take him places, especially if mum's not taking him these places. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I took him simple place, Camden Market in summertime.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa,
loved it.
It's just that because he likes American stuff. He's like, this is like America.
Oh.
All these people.
He'll always remember that.
Yeah, he always remember that.
Yeah.
And for me as well, like there's key stages in my childhood that I remember, and it's a blessing just knowing, like I've got one of those memories with him.
Absolutely,
you know, it's unique to myself. And you know, we have our little traditions that we do. Like, say, I'll take him to ice cream, certain periods of time, and I know what he has. He knows what I want. It's a little routine.
Yeah.
And then his mum will call me and say, you take him for ice cream. So he's probably asking her, oh, no, can I have this particular type of ice cream?
Right,
This is what daddy does for me.
Oh.
So it's nice having our things together and sharing that. And now he's built up this feeling that he likes to go places with dad to do certain types of things.
Absolutely.
So that's our thing.
So did you get any counselling for yourself or for your child during this transition or during the whole process? Did you get any counselling?
Not really. Yeah, to be honest with you, on the psychological side of things, no, we didn't get any like professional help or anything like that.
Okay. And what are your hopes for your child's future? And your role in it?
Well, for his future, obviously I just want him to be the best he can be and just have the most opportunities that he can. And for me, I just want to be there to support him through them, because for me, I didn't have my father at certain key stages. And I've always looked back on them thinking, oh man, imagine if I had the guidance just to nudge me in that right direction, because there's certain opportunities that I had at the time where I didn't realize they were really good opportunities. I thought I'd be a bit complacent, think, oh yeah, I can do that, I can go back to it. But that's gone now. It's time to move. That person's moved on, or that opportunity's moved on. So it's things like that where I think, okay, I want to be there in these situations for him, so I can give him that guidance. So I guess that's what I'd say.
So you're almost like being a positive role model for your child.
Yeah, I guess in certain circumstances, because he has said that to me. My child, he's quite no filter and open, so he's just like, you're a good father. Like you're he's like that. He'll just tell me, oh, you're a good father.
That is so beautiful. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel blessed, man. I can't lie. I get gassed. I'm like, oh, thank you, son. I'm supposed to be telling you this, and I'm like, you're good. You're good. You're good.
That's
son.
so
You're
beautiful, because it's like he's emotionally intelligent enough to share that, and comfortable, you know, because sometimes, like you said, sometimes it's like when it comes to male on male affection or words of affirmation, it's not shared enough.
Yeah, that's one thing. He is quite a sensitive soul as well. So I guess that's one of the positives of having a child that's quite emotionally sensitive in that context. Because there are other sides where I think, oh man, like, come on, man, man up, suck it in. Well, I'm to you. But you know, it's one with the other. You know,
absolutely.
Human, like, you know, so that's just the way it is.
We've come nearly to the end of the episode. So before I go into the links and supports and the research that I found to support fathers in this situation. Is there anything else you would like to share with people that are listening intently, or any words of encouragement that you feel that you can share? Because like you said, suicide is huge in terms of fathers, whether it doesn't matter about their cultural background, you're a father. And I remember years ago you'd see fathers climbing on, houses of
Yeah,
parliament, and
yeah,
do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
Because my father told me this, that it was in the Margaret Thatcher era that this started, because she
Yes,
changed all of this thing with
yes.
child arrangements and payments. I think the maintenance service was set up around that time.
Yeah.
Um, so what I would say to the fathers that are going through these things, because I know it can be very traumatizing and it's very stressful. Just know that you're not the only person out there with these problems.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're about to share some links where there is support and help. So I would say do seek support and help where you can,
Mm-hmm.
um, even if it's just talking to a family member for some guidance, or looking online to see what support mechanisms or support groups that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you speak to other people in the same circumstance, the more you then feel, okay, it's not just me. I'm not alone in this, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, and I would say for people on the outside that know someone that is going through that, try and be mindful of what they're going through. So things like saying, "Oh yeah, it's my son's birthday. We're going to go and do this," and they can't see their son. So things like that. Triggers. Being mindful of certain triggers that might trigger someone in that context. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'd say.
And I'd like to add, from a woman's perspective and a parent, I just want to say to the women, give access to the father. If the father is safe and of sound mind, there isn't an issue. Let him do what he has to do as a dad. Let him play his role. Um, and just be mindful of that, because it does affect the child. And also, we as parents, we have to be mindful as to who we choose as a mate, who we choose to be a parent to our child. We know what we're doing.
That's the key
You
thing.
know.
Because I see a lot of comments online towards males as well, saying, "Oh, you knew this woman was cray cray when you laid down with her, and all of
Yeah.
these things, and vice versa."
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we all know that sometimes in certain circumstances, there's different reasons why someone would lay down with someone. Sometimes it's just
Absolutely.
purely physical, sometimes it's emotional. So, um, yeah, I think people need to relax
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that tip.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. So in summary, I've got a few charities and companies that can support you guys. So Fathers for Justice, you may have heard of it,
Mm.
is run by Matt O'Connor, and he has a great team, and they are experienced advocates and paralegals who have helped reunite thousands of children with their fathers since 2001. They also look at the cost. It says our costs are a fraction of those charged by solicitors. They average between £20 to £30,000. Um, their average spend is £295 to £3,000, and they look at. They help you talk through things. I think possibly mediation. They'll give you independent, confidential advice on your case, and save lots and lots of money from solicitors. So they really do help. Another company is Supports Fathers' Rights. They're a non-for-profit organization. You've got Dads United, F and F, Gingerbread, The Dads Can, Home Star. I'm going to put all of that information under this recording, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah,
And thanks for inviting me on
you're
to
welcome.
have the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing, because this is obviously quite a private, intimate story that not everybody feels that they can share or has the platform to share. So I appreciate you for coming on
Thank
and
you.
sharing. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Share, like, subscribe, and comment. And I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye
Peace.
bye.